Hey mages, welcome to today's video. Today, well, we have a new meta in Standard. Now with Duskmourn fully in there, we have some really cool best of one decks. Let's have a look at what those top tier decks are currently. There's definitely some new decks in there and still some old ones that are still doing well in these first few days, first week or so since the set's been dropped. So we're going to have a look. A couple of decks are going to be very familiar at the start, but then there's going to be definitely 2 or 3 decks that hopefully will be spicing up Standard. There's a deck also at the end that I'm going to mention that isn't quite in the top tier, but I feel like it could definitely move up there. And I've had a few games of it, and it's definitely a very interesting deck, so make sure you stay to the end to see that one. But without further ado, we're going to get on to the first deck. If you want to get any of these cards in paper, check out my sponsors, Cardmarket. But without further ado, let's get on to the video. So here we go with the first deck, and it's one that a lot of people like to play against. A lot of people like playing it, but the stats are still up there, and it's definitely still a deck that does get results. Now for me, I think it's one of the lower performing top tier decks at the moment. This is Mono Black Discard. There's been a couple of little changes, little iterations to the deck that have swapped around. We're seeing a couple of new cards coming in now. Not new cards from the new set, but just some different variations of the deck. Rankle's Prank is being seen as a one-of mainly in this deck now. Each player discards 2 cards or loses 4 life or sacrifices 2 creatures. You can use one of these or more. So paying 4 mana is, you're going to get a lot of value out of this card. So it's definitely a card that I feel like is going to be seen, you know, maybe up to 2. I think it's quite good for the 4-drop. Obviously the 4-drop is battling with Sheoldred, the Apocalypse that is in this deck. And this is just such a really, really powerful powerhouse card. We know how good this is. Surprised it never ever got banned, but it's still there after all this time. Now, the other one that's coming in is Thoughtstalker Warlock. You'll see this in some builds now quite often. This enters, choose target opponent. If they lost life this turn, they reveal their hand. You choose an online card from it. If not, they're just going to discard a card. But it does give you an extra body on the field as well. So, gives you that 2/2. Normally just used for blocks, to be honest. We're not going to, it's going to be not used for much else. Because the way you're winning is obviously with Sheoldred, or with your bandit's talent once you've depleted hands. This then is doing the level 2. If they've got fewer cards in hand, 1 or fewer, they get to lose 2 lives. And we're using the level 3 to potentially draw some more cards in there. It does run a single Tiny Bones, the pickpocket as well. So putting all that stuff into the graveyard, this can pick out potentially, if it gets through what you want. You've got a lot of removal in this one. We've got Cut Down, as we know. We've got Go for the Throat as a 4-off, so 2 4-offs there. No 3 mana mass removal that I was thinking of for the early token decks. I can't remember the name of it off by my hands, but there is a 3 mana that does -1 to all creatures, then plus -2 for white and green creatures. So I feel like it's been, definitely good for me as a couple of, but I'm giving you these decks as they are because these are the top tier decks and this is what people have been playing in Mythic and everything like that. I'm not going to talk about much about these first 2 decks because we do know a lot about them. Hopeless Nightmare, Drain and Discard, Ruthless Negotiation, more discard there and then playing it from the flashback. Swamps, very easy. It's a good craft to craft for lands for this one. Just 24 swamps in this build. I sometimes do like a couple of demolition field in mind, but that's just personal preference. But this is Mono Black Discard. We're going to get onto the second deck now. Like I say, we're going to talk more about the newer decks, but this deck is still top tier. And of course, also top tier, we're going to be talking about Mono Red. Now, there is a different version that we're going to be talking about, but this is your common version that like everyone at the moment is playing. Why they're still getting their cards from Duskmourn. This is this has one change in the deck from what I've seen. It's not, not really any difference. This runs Manifold Mouse. I've never seen Rockface Village in my builds, but apparently I was just missing this. So tap 1 red, target lizard, mouse, otter, or raccoon you control gets +1/0 and haste. So can give something haste, which I suppose is very good when you're playing the Manifold Mouse. Give this haste. Maybe you could do some extra, shenanigans with this. But this is a very important card for the deck, and that's why I don't play this version because I don't have actually. I think I have 1 of these in my collection, so I am missing 3. It is a good craft. I want to do some. If you want to do some quick ranking, then this is the deck for you. Quick games, quick wins, quick losses, running it around, just under 60%. I think, this is the one that if you want to grind loads of games in, this is, the deck for you. Very different to the Mono Black Discard. That is literally, games will go long without, although you will get some quick early quits because people just don't like that if you've got some real, disruption straight away. But yeah, this has the full play set of Monastery Swift Spears. Heartfire Hero as well, and then the best card for me, Slick Shot Show Off. I love that card. The +2/0 for when you cast a non-creature spell is massive. You can plot this, then play it for 0, and then coming down with different turn 2s, like your Challenger coming in that has Prowess as well. This mono red version, as you know, is very, very popular, and it's very, very consistent as well. And then has a few other spells in here, Lightning Strike to do more damage, or keep the battlefield clear to get through with the big creature. Or, you know, you've got your Ruckus that can come in as a couple of these, adds a bit of trample, which is all, you know, sometimes what this deck is missing. Might the Meat, draw a card, and if you control a mouse, it gets +1/0. When it's luckily we've got the Manifold Mouse, but when you're adding in Swift Spears onto a lot of the stuff like this, and you're adding in the Double Strike or Trample, 2 of these on the field, get both. Brilliant. This has Offspring, so you can play this for 4 mana and get 2 of these down. But yeah, Mono Red is a very good deck, as we well know. But we're not talking about much. Let's get on to the next deck. So coming in, a new-ish deck. This is Boros Auras. A lot of the same cards, as you can see, transferring over. So if you've got the mono red deck, you're going to have cards like Monstrous Rays, Heartfire Hero in this. You're also going to have your Manifold Mouse, your Challengers, and Demonic Ruckus as well. So a lot of cards that you can transform over from that deck into this. So this might be your next stage, because this one has been brilliant. Like, stats have been so good in this one, up to 60+%, which is what you really want in this. All revolved around. There's so many different iterations of this, like Auras deck with Ethereal Armor in here, because it's an absolute powerhouse reprinted. This is a different version, if you're wondering what the symbol is to a lot of new players. And when you transfer decks as well, I will say this because a lot of people are having trouble, new players, when they're transferring the decks. Just make sure that when you go to your deck over here, just make sure this is on standard, because sometimes when you transport decks, it will change the format for you. And if I've got a different version that's not in your collection, it might be, it might come across as different for you when you transfer. So just a little tip there for you. But the idea of this is building up a massive creature if you can. We've got protection, we've got evasion, we've got feathered flight that can give our creature flying and +1/0. Shelter by the Ghost is brilliant. Lifelink adding War 2, then exiling something from opponent. Absolutely brilliant enchantments we're getting from Duskmourn. And then the rescue that gives it hexproof and comes in as flash, so you can protect your creature in the light of removal. I absolutely love this for the for this type of deck. Scavenger can help build up creatures whenever an enchantment comes in, +1/1. So your opening plays normally are potentially to get your creature on the field and your Scavenger either turn 1, and then building up and plus encounters if you can. Sometimes don't just be a rush to put it on there if you haven't got your protection ready, because you're building up a big creature, so protection is very much needed sometimes. It then runs a 2 of Etali's Favour, Discover 3, which is nice, and this gives something Trample, which occasionally, if you haven't got your Manifold Mouses out to trigger that at the beginning of your combat, something like this for 3 mana can come in and give that, and gives it a little bump and a +1/1, and when it enters as well, you get to Discover 3, and we've got a lot down there, haven't we, for the Discover, and it's only Etali's Favours in there, so no 4-drops or anything bigger in this deck. Land base, very simple, lots of basics, and then like 8 rare lands, 4 Battle Forge, and 4 Vantage in this one as well, but a very low CMC, 1.6, so you're only going with the 20 lands in this, 20 enchantments and 16 creatures in this deck as well. But it's a deck that plays very aggressive, a very aggro deck. I'd like to try out this version. I've just got to craft the Manifold Mouses. I've got to just bite the bullet, and then it will give me that mono red deck, and it will give me the Boros Auras deck. And that is, at the start of the season, you want to do some quick ranking. These are like the type of 2 decks that you really would like to use potentially to go out there. Now, you will meet a lot of mirror matches, so going first sometimes is a big thing on these type of decks, and especially in best of 1. But let's get on to our fourth deck. So the fourth deck we have is built around the big eye. Abhorrent Oculus, a 5/5 flyer that at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep manifests dread, and that is one powerful mechanic to go on there. Start up that ability to keep doing it at the beginning of each upkeep. You can just amass a massive board, and this will certainly need to be dealt with. It's a 3 mana creature as well, but you have to have the additional cast of exiling 6 cards from your graveyard. Now, you do have ways to do that in this deck. You've got Sleight of Hand that can help you find the cards you need as well, but you've got Charge, of course, draw 2 cards, then discard a card, so you have some discard there as well. Moment of truth can put something into your graveyard as well. So there is abilities, able to do this as well. You've got counter magic to protect you. You've got more counter magic, but this is nice because the +2 on this as well with the blue mana has a discard ability as well. So there is ways to get this down, hopefully a little bit, quicker than you should. You've got ways to do that, and then the idea of the plan is to start manifesting dread. Now, you've got a side plan in this because you've heard of the mono blue deck. Haughty Djinn's coming in this because we run a lot of instants and sorceries in this graveyard. So in this deck, 15 instants. I can't speak today. Sorry, I've been ill this week, guys. I'm really sorry. So it might be a bit blah 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 this week. 15 instants and 13 sorceries. Just 20 lands again because we're under the 2 CMC of 1.8. which is really good. Now, Picklock Prankster, another way, milling 4 cards, then put an instant sorcery card from money into your hand. This is great to have in your opening hand because that mill 4 is just going to be potentially getting this down so much quicker. And you really want this in there. Now, you got ways to bring it back because it will get attacked, loads of removal in standard, but this return, the helping hand side of this, returning target creature card mana 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, is absolutely perfect for Oculus, and obviously perfect for bringing back your Haughty Djinn as well. So you've got ways to get back these potential massive flying beaters in this deck. For me, this is my type of deck. I'm only missing Oculus. I think I'm missing 3 Oculus. Sorry, my mouse is playing up mad today as well. So, where is it? Yeah, I'm missing 3 Oculus, and that is it from the deck. So I feel like this is a deck that my type of play style. So if you like a controlling type of aspect rather than playing aggro, this is still, hopefully low enough in CMCs to the ground to keep you going in best of 1. I mean, the results have been really good. It is now into the top tier meta decks. There's the Oculus decks, and there's definitely different versions of this. But for me, the blue-white version is just, it's just my total cup of tea. I mean, that's a proper UK thing to say, innit? A cup of tea. But yeah, this is definitely my type of deck with the counter magic. We then go to the land base. I'm missing a couple of flood farm versions. I think I'm missing one of them as well, but that's easily crafted. I'll always craft those lands. And then we have that, and we have Meticulous Archive. We also have Sea Chrome Coast as well, a darker, and some basics for the deck. But this is obviously, if you're not into fully on aggro and you like, you play control, but you can't, haven't got time to play the best of 3s, this is definitely the deck for you. Now we're going to go to a deck, this deck for me is rage inducing. It's just so annoying. I don't know. It is very, very good. It's the Callous deck, but what the Callous deck has done is added the Leyline of Resonance. Now, for me, whenever I meet this deck and meet this opponent, they will all have 2 in hand, and they will go down for 0, because if they're in your open hand, you begin with the game on the battlefield. Now, once this is on the field, it is so hard. I mean, the double interactions of this, copying the spells is massive, and turn 3 wins with this deck are easily done with with no interaction. You're just really just going to get swallowed up by this deck. It doesn't really run much different to how the Callous deck was running before, but it's running turn inside out as well. So +3/0 until end of turn. When it dies, this turn manifests, so you get to protect your creature another way. Like the other card that we do have was this. Is it Dreadmore? No, it's not. Did it not run that other card? Yeah, it's Felonious Rage. There it is. +2/0 when it dies, you get a detective. So it has a way of protecting your creature, getting another creature down, which is good. Not protection, but getting another creature down. So even with the removal, you're going to be left with another creature potentially to keep doing these spells and just build up. This is what's really good. But you can imagine putting this on a Slick Show with Leyline that's already on the field. You put your Slick Show down that gets +2/0 with each non-creature. You're casting 2, trigger, then gets +3/0 again. So it's +6, +8, +10. It just goes absolutely stupid, this deck. And then when it dies, you just target creature, you do the burn together, and you're just dead. I mean, frustrating deck to play against without a doubt, but this deck it's just super consistent. It doesn't even need the Leyline, as we know, so it's got that Callous package here where you build up your Heartfires, your Cacophony Scamps, and sack them and do damage with the Callous and stuff like that. And then just aggro, Swifty, Slick, and the Emberheart Challenger as well. The deck has multiple ways to win. If this is on there, it's like an easier win potentially, because if some decks like slow to start up, like with the domain decks or anything like that, they might get a little bit of life gain, but once this just has them on the field and they manage to keep a creature for a turn, sometimes the turn is all they need just to literally go off. Like I said, very consistent deck. This is nice that it's rare, so crafting this, not mythic, so it makes it excuse me, makes it a little bit easier. With, you know, depending on your wildcards, obviously you might have actually bundles of mythic and wish it was mythic, but for me, mythics, you know, are supposed to be a bit harder to get because you got to build that little circle around when you're getting all your cards. But this deck is very good, very strong, and is an absolute winner. But let's get on to a deck now that I feel like is one that's definitely going to rise up the ranks a bit. So this is a bonus deck for you. I've seen good results with this mono white auras. So a little bit easier on your land base other than playing the Boros one that does very well. But this mono white one is very, very good and very consistent. 20 lands, an absolute plethora of 1-drops. CMC 2.2 with this one, but as you can see, the amount of 1-drops in there. Because we do run, you know, the CMC's up a little bit. We've got Porcelain Gallery in there that's obviously got the 6 in there. But the Dollmaker's Shop is really all I've ever had to use it for. But when games go long, and I've had a game go long with this where I've actually then just sunk in the 6 mana, and I had like so many creatures. I think I had like, I don't know, 11/11/11s or something stupid like that, and just absolutely wiped the floor with our opponent. Early creatures, so some early blockers like Market Gnome, that's a 0/3. We've got Crawling Crawlers that can block and then make a token, so, you know, sort of replenishes itself. The Scavenger in this one, a lot of crossover cards again. The Ether Armor, the most important card in this to build up around all those enchantments. Protection and, you know, Ward here with the Ghosts again, and then we got the Rescue again. So a lot of crossover cards for a slightly different version that for me just loses nothing, and it is very, very consistent. We get to use Invasion of Theros, and it's easily flipped as well sometimes. Search for your aura, go and get that, you know, go and get your ethereal armor or your protection or something that you need. And then if you get to flip this into a 4/4, easily gets lifelink and indestructible with the amount of enchantments we play. And whenever enchantment then control enters, you get to draw a card. I just love this mono white version. I can't speak highly of it enough. I crafted it, I was missing a couple of cards, and I've just been having so much fun with it. And I feel like, you know, for anyone out there not wanting to craft so many rares, and you haven't got the lands just yet, maybe for new players, this rather than the Boros one that has 8 rare lands is maybe potentially a little bit better for you. Now, this is a mythic. Luckily, I pulled this in my pack, so I already had 4. So that was another reason for building the deck as well. I had the majority of this deck built, but I would definitely say watch out for mono white auras. So there's your top tier meta decks, 5 of them there, and plus an extra bonus deck as well. Let me know what you think of these decks. Which ones are you going to try? You know, play it. The way to choose sometimes is literally you have to choose from the cards in your collection. There's nothing wrong with that because all of these decks, all 6 of them, are very good meta decks and will definitely get you some results. We're seeing some of the originals still in there from the start, but then we're seeing some changes with some, and you know, that Callous change has just turned it into an even naughtier deck for me without a doubt. But I want to give the Azorius deck a go, and I've been playing them on a white deck, and I really do enjoy that as well. If you want any more plan tips of how to play the decks, or if you're having trouble with them, I know some new players have been doing that in previous videos. I'll always reply to every comment I do, even if it's just saying hi and stuff like that. So I really do appreciate that, and giving the video a big thumbs up is a good way to support the channel for free and helps bring more mages to this channel as well. Thanks for all the support, and thanks to my patrons as well. If you're interested in that, go check out the link below. You lot take care, and I'll see you on the next video.